The Real Investment Show.
So, yes, just for the break, talk a little bit about offshoring and the cost of salaries and this type of thing. And the new trend is no longer called offshoring. That is politically incorrect because we shouldn't offshore. We should friend shore companies. This is the new term. So companies are now going to be friend shoring.
That's as convoluted as social distancing.
Correct. AirPods, Apple Watch, HomePod, and more. Apple has big plans in Vietnam, apart from iPhone manufacturing, which they've already moved to Vietnam. This is from the Nikkei Asia yesterday, and this is exactly to the point. Now, why does Apple have big plans in Vietnam versus China? Remember the whole Foxconn story in China where people were jumping out of windows? They work for $2 an hour. And they just work them 20 hours a day until they literally jump out of windows at the manufacturing plant because they're overworked, stress. So they're moving from China on the manufacturing to Vietnam. Big win for Southeast Asia. Why? The trend is called, I'm going to read to you from a story. This was in Nikkei Asia. The trend is called fringe shoring. While it's a play on offshoring, this isn't about companies moving operations back to the U.S. and Europe, right? So we're not bringing these jobs back to America, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Can't afford it. Exactly what I said in the last segment. You know, you think an iPhone's expensive now at $2,000 or whatever it is to buy an iPhone. Wait until you bring it back and manufacture it in the U.S. We export inflation to import deflation through cheaper products. The trend is called fringe shoring. While it's a play on offshoring, this isn't about companies moving operations back to the U.S. and Europe, but rather seeking foreign alternatives that retain the benefit of what? Low labor cost, but with less international controversy. Nobody's picking on Vietnam. We've already done that fight. Taiwan's still coming. Apple's production diversification comes as the U.S. and China already had an increasingly adversarial relationship. Of course, also remember the Trump tariffs, increasing the cost on products coming in from China. That was before House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, sparking anger with Beijing. The fact is that geopolitical and trade war tensions aren't going away anytime soon and will only push Apple further away from China. Though reshoring production in the U.S., here's the key sentence, the reshoring of production to the U.S. is unfeasible because of labor cost in general. Exactly what we said. Maybe robotics can offset some of those costs or perhaps set up shop in Mexico, where there's an abundant supply of cheap labor and healthy demographics. Now, think about that for a moment. How does that help create stronger economic growth? And this is the whole fallacy of the political paradigm right now all across the U.S., which is everybody deserves a livable wage. Everybody deserves this. We need to pass a bill in Congress where we run up our debt some more to give people paid time off, family leave, sick leave, whatever it is. We're trying to figure out ways to give people more money. The employees are all going, I want more. If you want to hire me, great, I'll come work for you. And, but you've got to pay me. And kind of to the point of Gen X talks, when I graduate college, I'm expecting $70, $80, $90, $100,000 a year so I can immediately go out and buy a big house and a fancy car and I can live the lifestyle of all these people I see on TikTok. That's not the way the world works. Only in America do we have this very distorted view of what getting by seems like. In the U.S., if you make $30,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of income earners worldwide. You should be thankful. But no, we're not. We're upset because we can't afford the big house, the fancy cars, and we don't have what the billionaires have, and we're all jealous about that. So we need to take more money from them and give it to somebody else, which doesn't help the situation at all. If you want a stronger economic environment, you have to do three things. One, stop doing things that keep you from having kids, because you need a demographic growth trend inside the economy. The second thing you need to do is start working for a living and getting back to the things that actually produce and manufacture goods and services. And three, quit demanding more than what you're worth. But see, we don't want to do that. You know, when your pipe busts in your house, you will pay a plumber just about anything to have him come fix it. There's an established worth with a plumber, an electrician, carpenter, tradesman, period, right? When you need something fixed, they can pretty much charge you whatever they want. That's a fair and honest wage, driven by supply and demand. The less supply of those tradesmen that you have, the higher those costs are going to go. And if you think inflation is high now, wait until you start running out of plumbers, laborers, and tradesmen to do work. You know, we're all spending our time sending our kids to college going, oh, it's okay, get a sociology degree, get a history degree, you know, whatever. You know, get the easy degree. Just get your degree and get out. It really doesn't matter. It matters, ladies and gentlemen, what degree your kids get in college, because that will determine what companies will pay them in the future. You know, we talk about the gender, there's all this talk about the gender wage pay gap. They did a study just recently, and they found out that why do women get paid less than men? Because they choose careers that have lower salaries than men do. There's not really a wage pay gap. It's just the choices that we make that lead to the gap in wages between men and women. See, we never get to that point, right? We just look at the headlines. We just look at how much did women make last year? How much did men make? We don't say, well, why did women earn less than men last year? What was the choices that they made on the degrees they get? Their degrees primarily in areas that have lower wages, right? Teachers, nurses, those type of things. Not everyone, we're talking about on average, right? Men, they make bad choices too, no doubt about it, but more men are involved in things like mathematics, engineering, etc. That's just a function. Go to colleges and look at the number of degrees of people that are in certain degrees that companies want to hire. Take a look at the companies. They say, what are the top 10 degrees that you want to hire people with? I want mathematics, engineering, computer sciences, accounting, finance, those type of things. Those are your top 10 degrees that companies right now are looking to hire for, and they are willing to pay for those jobs. If you have a degree in computer engineering, automation, robotics, they will hire you in a heartbeat because there's not enough people out there that have those degrees, and they will pay you well. Those 10 degrees are the least populated among all the degrees taken in universities. Degrees like sociology, psychology, history, government, politics, those type of things. Those are the 10 most populated degrees by students in universities, and those are the 10 least wanted degrees by companies. How do you think that works out when they go out to get a job? Yes, they've got a degree. That's awesome, and they've paid $100,000 for that degree. What do you think it gets them in the workplace? Again, what's your salary determination? It's what you bring to the job. Your skill set, your talent, and your work ethic. And your work ethic is not showing up at 10 o'clock in the morning and wanting to go home at 2 and working 2 days a week in the office. Sorry, you got me off on a rant this morning. Anyway, the point is, this is why we have inflation, and this is why ultimately we're going to have more problems down the road, is because companies can't onshore labor. It's too costly. We want too much. Eventually, either we outsource more labor and we have slower economic growth and a lower standard of living here, which eventually will lower the standard of living and the demand for salary enough that it brings manufacturing back to the U.S., or it doesn't. You know, we all look back at the 50s and the 60s when the economy in the U.S. was booming, you know, hand over fist, growing at 8% growth rates, wages were high, debt was low. You got to remember, We were almost entirely blue-collar manufacturing. We had devastated Europe and Germany and Japan and Russia. It had all been wiped out during World War II. We were the sole manufacturing powerhouse of the entire world, and we manufactured everything here to rebuild all those countries. Blue-collar labor was it. Has huge input costs, huge multiplier effects in the economy. Wealth was very broad in the U.S. We had a very broad manufacturing and middle class in America, and America was strong. And we all look back to that and we all go, man, could we have that again in the U.S.? Yes, we can, but we have to change our thought process. You go back and look at the boomers, my parents, your parents. How did they live? You know, they lived in 1,100 square foot houses. Cars cost $6,000. They weren't fancy, right? They were basically metal boxes on wheels. But it got you from point A to point B. No debt, paid with checkbooks, spent their time working, reading, educating, because they didn't have iPhones and laptops to stare at all day. I'm going to save this story for next week. Just tease you with it. Study claims more kids are fat and unhealthy because of global warming. That's another rant topic coming up for next week. It ain't global warming, ladies and gentlemen. But I'll tell you what the real reason is next week. Anyway, our daily market commentary is out. So be sure and get by the website, realinvestmentadvice.com. Sign up for our daily morning commentary. It comes out to you every morning, but right at 7:30 on the nose. You'll get an email getting you set up for the day, talking about our market update, trading updates, get you updated on what the markets are doing, economics, earnings data, all that there for you. It's free. All you got to do is sign up at the website, realinvestmentadvice.com. So click the button below, like this video, get an alert, go get an email. See you tomorrow.